So we recently filmed you against a sea of green screen, but you had a wonderful costume and makeup on. What was that like?
Well, you know, you hear you're going to film in front of a green screen and you have in your mind what it's going to look like, but it's completely different once you get up there and you're the only person that the camera's focused on and the person you're interacting with is off camera. Mm-hmm. You kind of feel like you're just out there, which is a little vulnerable. But I loved it, and I loved interacting with Joe and trying to remember how big he is to me, and just really bringing her to life, and seeing the effects that were put on it has been really fun too.
Cool.
Seeing the more digital side of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've noticed that the relationship between Joe and Jess has become more interesting over time. Originally, she was just a voice, and
really?
she was just going to be a voice, and then we're like, it's like, well, what would she look like? And then, it just, we kind of went all over the place with it, and now,
I never knew that.
now she's grown into this very interesting character, and I think, kind of joking around with some of the people that have worked on it, they're like she's a scene stealer, and I'm just like, that's great, because that gives Joe, kind of the polar opposite,
Exactly. That's one thing I love about him is the dualistic nature.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Joe who's tough and, he's seen a lot of things and he's worked the beats and he's done the tough side of town and policed, and now here he is a private detective. And then you have Jess, who still maintains this whimsical nature and this upbeat side that kind of pulls that out of him.
Yeah. What's also interesting is that she also kind of puts him in his place. She's like the one person that can kind of put him in his place. Keeps him grounded. And I think it's also interesting that, he doesn't trust anybody except her. And, we're still kind of, we don't want to give too much away, but she's, he's the only person that can interact with her. Mm-hmm. I like the way that you've been playing on that. That's really cool.
They've had a great trust between them, I think. I believe Jess trusts Joe more than she trusts to interact with anybody else, too.
Yeah.
Because she does have knowledge of other characters and slightly interacts with them at times. And
right.
I feel like her and Joe really they've developed this dependence on each other.
Right. Codependent relationship.
Yeah, it's so hard to say it without giving anything away, but
I understand.
They're completely codependent on each other.
Codependent. What are your inspirations as an actress? You talked a little bit about how you got started into, but are there any actors or actresses that inspire you, or any films or anything that inspire you?
I've always fallen in love with character actors. Johnny Depp is a great one always. They have so many different characters that they do, and every time you see them, they're never the same. Mm. And I've always fallen in love with that part. And what really inspires me, I think, is just your average, everyday person. Mm-hmm. One of my absolute favorite things to do is just get like a coffee and go sit down in some sort of public place and just people watch. Mm-hmm. And try to make up stories for the people in, the coffee place. Why is this guy frantically bashing his computer? Why is this woman talking into her cell phone? Who's she talking to? Mm-hmm. And trying to get stories that way.
That's what good writers do, too, as well.
I love it. Yeah. It's great.
Cool. Aside from the way that you performed her and, kind of improvised, you had chemistry with Joe, and I thought that was interesting. But one thing is that you have these really expressive, amazing eyes. And playing a character that is like, this tall on a screen, that's very important. What is the challenge of being an actor and playing a hologram, somebody who's smaller,
Well, you have to make everything bigger. It's more... I want to relate it more to stage acting in the sense that you have to play to the bigger audience. I would use a lot of movements for Jess, little cute things, little ways that she moved that would kind of bring her bigger out of her small shell. Mm-hmm. And then facial expressions also have to be overdone a little, but you can't do it too much to the point where it's not unrealistic in a life situation. Mm-hmm. So it was fine-tuning just a balance between the two that I felt would work for her. She's really been a challenging character in finding the humanity amongst the technology, and eventually she begins to evolve a little bit and trying to show her progress as a hologram, an auto dame.